Friends, thank you for being here today. There was a time not so long ago when the name Las Vegas conjured a very specific and potent image. It was a promise whispered on the desert wind, a beacon of dazzling neon in the vast darkness of the Mojave. It was a destination built on a singular, intoxicating idea that anyone from any walk of life could step into a world of glamour and excitement and, for a night, feel like royalty. The city's premise was simple and profound. It was a haven for fun, for relaxation, for the thrill of the chase. You came to Las Vegas to chase a dream, to test your luck, to escape the mundane and embrace the possibility that fortune was just a card flip or a dice roll away. The clatter of chips, the ringing of slot machines, and the murmur of hopeful crowds were the city's lifeblood, a symphony of chance that welcomed all who dared to play. Today, however, that symphony has changed its tune. For a growing number of people, both longtime visitors and curious newcomers, the promise of Las Vegas feels hollow. The magnetic pull of the casino floor has weakened, replaced by a sense of caution and increasingly disillusionment. To walk onto a modern casino floor is no longer to step into a world of exhilarating possibility. For many, it feels like walking into a meticulously designed and elegantly decorated giant trap. What if I told you that the magic wasn't just gone, but that it had been systematically dismantled and replaced by a cold corporate machine designed to do one thing: separate you from your money as efficiently as possible? And what if the very games you came to play have been subtly altered to ensure you lose faster than ever before? The fundamental contract between the city and its visitors appears to have been broken. Where there was once an implicit understanding that the house would have its edge, but the player would get a fair shot and a good time in return, there is now a palpable sense that the game is rigged far more heavily than ever before. This talk will serve as a detailed examination of this profound shift, breaking down the 8 biggest reasons why the allure of gambling in Las Vegas has faded and why so many people are choosing to walk away from the tables for good. Let's start with the first major reason. The city has decisively shifted its focus from the average person to the millionaires and billionaires. The foundational myth of Las Vegas was its democratic appeal. It was a city where a plumber from Ohio could sit at a blackjack table next to a movie star, and for the duration of the game, they were equals. This was not by accident, but by design. The city's architects, especially during the era when the mob held significant influence, understood a crucial piece of human psychology: make everyone feel important, and they will come back. They perfected the art of accessible luxury. Casinos actively courted the middle class, recognizing that their collective spending power was the true engine of the city. This welcome was extended through tangible perks that made a trip to Vegas an unbeatable value. Hotel rooms on the iconic strip could often be found for less than $50 a night. $5 blackjack tables were the standard, not a rare exception, allowing a person with a modest budget to play for hours. Legendary all-you-can-eat buffets offered mountains of food for a price lower than a movie ticket back home. Las Vegas didn't require you to be rich to be treated well. It only required you to show up and be willing to play. That city is now a distant memory, a ghost haunting the shimmering glass towers that have taken its place. The Las Vegas of the year 2025 and beyond has undergone a seismic transformation, rebranding itself as an exclusive luxury playground designed almost entirely for the super rich The welcoming arms that once embraced the average American have been replaced with a velvet rope and a steep price of admission. This exclusionary philosophy is evident in every facet of the modern Vegas experience. Start with the most basic necessity, a place to sleep. The idea of a $49 room on the strip is now laughable. Today, even the most basic, nondescript rooms at major resorts routinely command prices of $200 to $400 per night, and that is merely the starting point. This initial price is then inflated by a gauntlet of additional charges. The most notorious of these is the mandatory resort fee, a cynical and widely despised charge of $40 to $50 per night for amenities like Wi Fi or gym access, which many guests never use. This is followed by charges for parking, a service that was once universally free and is now another revenue stream to be exploited. Before a visitor even has the chance to place a single bet, they have already spent an amount of money that could have funded an entire weekend trip in a previous era. This sticker shock continues at the dinner table. The famous affordable buffets that were once a symbol of Vegas's generosity have been systematically dismantled. Those that remain have been reimagined as overpriced gourmet dining experiences. The legendary $9.99 steak dinner is a relic of history. Now, a casual dinner for two at a mid tier restaurant on the strip can easily run $150 to $200. The old business model was to feed you cheaply to keep you at the gambling tables. The new model is to wring every last dollar from you at every possible opportunity. Naturally, this philosophy has bled onto the casino floor itself, fundamentally altering the act of gambling. $5 blackjack tables have become an endangered species hunted to near extinction. The new standard minimum bet at most strip casinos is $25 or even $50. In the more high end resorts, it is not uncommon to see $100 minimums, a price point that excludes the vast majority of tourists from even participating. Slot machines have followed the same trend. The quaint quarter of spin machines have been supplanted by dazzling video terminals that often demand $3 to $5 for a single spin. Even the long standing tradition of complimentary drinks for players has been eroded. Many casinos now employ sophisticated tracking systems in their machines, and a cocktail waitress will only appear if a player's rate of betting is high enough to justify the cost of the drink. The bottom line is a stark and uncomfortable one. Las Vegas is no longer for everyone. It has been meticulously redesigned for the whales, the millionaires, and billionaires who can gamble with six-figure sums in opulent, private, high limit rooms. From a purely corporate perspective, this makes a cold kind of sense. One high roller who loses $100,000 is worth more than hundreds of average tourists combined. The entire infrastructure of the modern strip has been recalibrated with this reality in mind. The result is a palpable feeling of alienation for the regular visitor, a sense that they are an intruder in someone else's exclusive party. The magical, egalitarian energy that once defined the city has vanished, and in its place is the cold, stratified air of a luxury club. This is why so many people no longer want to gamble there. They no longer feel welcome. Beyond just feeling unwelcome, there's a more calculated reason gamblers are walking away. This brings us to our second point. The odds have simply never been worse. At the core of the gambling experience is a delicate, unwritten pact between the player and the casino. It's an agreement that acknowledges that in the long run, the house will always win. This house edge is the mathematical certainty that ensures casinos remain profitable. However, for decades, that edge was kept within reasonable bounds. The odds were balanced in such a way that a player could stretch their money, enjoy the thrill of the game for hours, and, with a bit of luck, have a legitimate chance to walk away a winner. The possibility of winning was real enough to keep the dream alive. That crucial balance has now been deliberately and systematically broken. The modern Las Vegas casino has tilted the scales so far in its favor that the experience often feels less like a game of chance and more like a slow, inevitable financial drain. One of the most glaring examples of this shift can be found in blackjack, the quintessential casino game that arguably built Las Vegas. For decades, the gold standard rule was a 3-2 payout for a natural blackjack, an ace, and a 10 value card. This rule resulted in a house edge of about 0.5%, assuming the player used basic strategy. It was a fair game, offering some of the best odds in the casino. However, on the strip today, the vast majority of lower limit tables have switched to a 6-5 payout. To the casual observer, this might seem like a minor change. In reality, it is one of the most significant and insidious scams in modern Vegas. This single rule change triples the house edge, raising it to nearly 2%. The casinos present these tables as if nothing has changed, preying on the ignorance of novice players who don't understand the devastating mathematical impact of that seemingly small adjustment. The game of roulette has suffered a similar fate. The classic roulette wheel, both in its American and European variations, was built around a specific set of odds. An American wheel featured 36 numbers plus a single zero and a double zero, giving the house an edge of about 5.26%. But in their relentless pursuit of higher profits, many Vegas casinos have introduced a new abomination, the triple zero wheel. By adding a third green pocket to the wheel, the house edge skyrockets to nearly 8%. The player is being charged nearly 3 times the traditional house take for the exact same game, with absolutely nothing offered in return except a faster depletion of their chips. Then there are the slot machines, the primary revenue driver for every casino. They have undergone a complete digital transformation, and this has been terrible news for players. Old school mechanical slots, with their physical reels and satisfying clunk of coins, typically operated with a payout percentage in the range of 95 to 98%. This meant that for every $100 played, the machine was programmed to pay back between $95 and $98 over the long term. Today's flashy, high-tech video slots, with their licensed movie themes and complex bonus rounds, are often programmed with a much lower payout percentage, frequently closer to 85%. While that may not sound like a dramatic difference, its effect is profound. It means you are losing your money significantly faster than ever before. The days of sitting at a quarter machine with a $20 bill and playing for an hour or more are long gone. Now, that same $20 can vanish in 5 minutes flat. This trend of squeezing the player extends even to the sports books, which were traditionally considered one of the fairest places to bet in a casino. The casino's profit from sports betting comes from the vig or juice, which is the commission they take on a losing bet for decades. The industry standard was a 10% vig. Now, it is increasingly common to see the vig quietly creep up to 12 or even 15% on certain types of bets. Once again, it's a subtle change that compounds over time, eating away at a player's winnings and making it that much harder to come out ahead. The undeniable truth is that the house edge has ballooned across every single game on the casino floor. What were once games of chance now feel more like rigged traps designed to separate you from your money as efficiently as possible. Gamblers, contrary to some stereotypes, are not stupid. They possess a keen sense of value, and they notice when their bankroll disappears at a dramatically accelerated rate. When people come to the realization that they no longer stand a fighting chance, that the game is no longer a fair contest of luck, they simply stop playing. So, if you've ever had the feeling that the casinos in Vegas take your money much quicker than they did 20 years ago, you are not imagining it. The odds really have gotten demonstrably worse, and that is a massive reason why fewer and fewer people want to gamble there anymore. To really understand this shift, you have to look at the city's history, which leads us to our third reason: the stark and ironic contrast between the old mob run Vegas and today's corporate run machine. Back in the 1970s, the city had a completely different feel. It was a place that was undeniably dangerous, wild, and largely run by organized crime. Yet, paradoxically, many regular people who came to gamble during that era speak of it with a strange fondness. They often recall feeling genuinely taken care of. The casinos wanted you there, and they understood that the key to long term success was to ensure you had a good time, won just enough to stay happy, and felt a compelling desire to return. People from that time talk about a culture of respect, of genuine hospitality, and of the way Vegas rolled out the red carpet even for the small time gambler. It was an environment where the customer, even the small one, felt valued. From the 1950s through the late 1970s, Las Vegas was famously described as the mob's playground. Notorious crime families from Chicago, Kansas City, Cleveland, and New York all had their hands in the casinos. The skimming operations were the stuff of legend. Vast amounts of untaxed cash were taken straight off the top before they were ever reported to the government, lining the pockets of mob bosses thousands of miles away. But here is the surprising and crucial part of the story. For the average gambler walking through the casino doors, the mob era was often a superior experience. The mob bosses, for all their brutality and criminal enterprise, understood a fundamental principle of the hospitality business that their corporate successors seem to have forgotten. If the customer feels like a winner, they will come back. This philosophy translated into a suite of generous policies. It meant low table minimums that allowed people to play for long periods. It meant generous comps, free rooms, meals, and show tickets that were handed out not by a computer algorithm, but by a pit boss who liked the cut of your jib. It meant cheap food and drinks that were practically giveaways. Hotel rooms were dirt cheap, and anyone who spent a reasonable amount of time at the tables was treated like a member of the family. The mob may have been ruthless behind the scenes, but they were masters of hospitality on the casino floor. Old timers who experienced this era will tell you that in the mob's Vegas, respect was paramount. Dealers were professional and treated you with class. Cocktail waitresses made sure your glass was never empty. There was even a pervasive sense of safety provided by the casino's own security. Nobody wanted trouble to break out inside a mob run casino, and if you did cause trouble, the mob dealt with it swiftly and decisively. The stories of cheaters or unruly guests being escorted to a back room for a harsh lesson are legendary. It sounds brutal, and it certainly was, but it had the ancillary effect of making the gambling floor itself feel incredibly safe and orderly. No one dared to pull a scam at a blackjack table or harass other guests. Ironically, the terrifying reality behind the curtain often translated into a smoother, more respectful, and more enjoyable experience out front. This all changed when the government cracked down on organized crime in the late 70s and 80s. As the mob was pushed out, Wall Street and major hotel corporations moved in. They saw Vegas not as a wild desert town built on relationships and mystique, but as a gold mine of untapped revenue to be systematically exploited. The focus of the entire city shifted almost overnight. Gone were the cheap buffets, the low minimums, and the friendly discretionary comps. In their place, a new ethos emerged: monetize everything. Every drink, every meal, every hotel night, every square foot of retail space became another revenue stream to be maximized. Rather than treating customers like valued guests to be courted for a long term relationship, the corporations began treating them like walking ATMs from which to extract as much cash as possible in the shortest amount of time. And unlike the mob, the corporations, beholden only to their quarterly earnings reports, didn't particularly care if you came back happy. They only cared about this quarter's profits. This is the genesis of the $25 minimum blackjack tables, the $50 resort fees, and the $20 cocktails. These things don't exist because they create a better customer experience. They exist because they look good on a spreadsheet presented to shareholders. Herein lies the great irony. People today look back at the mob era with a palpable sense of nostalgia. It wasn't because the mobsters were saints, they were violent, dangerous, and corrupt criminals. It was because within that corrupt system, the gambler felt like they received something of value in return for their money. You could walk into a casino with $100, play for hours, eat and drink well, and leave with the memory of being treated like royalty. Today, that same $100 can disappear in 15 minutes at a slot machine, and you will be lucky to get a single watered down cocktail before being ignored by the service staff. Instead of generosity, you are met with a barrage of fees, upcharges, and progressively worse odds at the tables. The mob wanted you to feel like a winner even as you lost. The corporations don't seem to care if you feel like a loser as long as you lose quickly. Gamblers feel this difference in their bones. This history is not just sentimental trivia, it is the essential context for why fewer people want to gamble in Las Vegas today. The mob's Vegas, for all its sins, was built on the foundation of long term loyalty. Corporate Vegas is built on the foundation of short term profits. That fundamental shift has created a city where regular gamblers no longer feel respected. And when people don't feel respected, they eventually stop showing up. The fourth reason is something that is guaranteed to frustrate any visitor, and that's the relentless rise of hidden fees and the feeling of being constantly nickeled and dimed. If there is one single thing guaranteed to breed resentment and drive away customers from any business, it is the pervasive feeling of being constantly nickeled and dimed. It is the sense that you are being squeezed for every last cent through a series of small, often hidden, and deeply annoying charges. In the past, Las Vegas operated on a simple, transparent model. The casinos made their money when you gambled. Almost everything else, the rooms, the food, the drinks, was a perk, a loss leader, designed to keep you on the property and, most importantly, happy and at the tables. Today, that entire model has been inverted. Now, it feels as though every single component of the Vegas experience, from the moment you arrive to the moment you leave, has been engineered to extract money from you long before you even place your first bet. This ordeal begins with the hotel room. Decades ago, a $49 room on the Strip was not a special promotion, it was a common price point, even at well regarded properties. That was the hook. The casinos understood that if they provided low cost, comfortable lodging, you would stick around and spend your money on the casino floor. Now, as previously mentioned, finding a room for under $200 or $300 a night is a challenge. But the insult is compounded by the addition of the dreaded resort fee. These mandatory fees, which tack on an extra $40 to $50 per night, are presented under the guise of paying for amenities, but they are nothing more than a deceptive way to advertise a lower initial room rate. They are a fee for the privilege of being a guest, and they are almost universally despised. On top of that, parking, which was once a free and unquestioned convenience for all visitors, is now a paid service at most major resorts. It is a death by 1,000 cuts that begins before you even check in. The assault on your wallet continues unabated when you get hungry. The cheap, abundant buffets that symbolize the city's ethos of value are either gone or have been transformed into outrageously overpriced spectacles. The $9.99 prime rib dinner that your parents reminisce about is a fantasy. Today, you can expect to pay $70 for a mid range buffet and closer to $100 at the more luxurious spreads. Even the most basic meals are subject to what can only be described as strip inflation. A simple burger and fries can easily cost $30, while a single cocktail at a standard casino bar often runs between $20 and $25. If you are lured into one of the mega nightclubs, a bottle of liquor at your table can run into the thousands. None of this is about creating an environment that encourages you to stay and gamble. It is about milking tourists for every possible cent at every turn. Even the act of gambling itself has been infused with new forms of nickel and diming. Modern slot machines no longer spit out a cascade of coins when you win. They operate on a system of tickets and bill acceptors. This makes the transaction feel more abstract, more digital, and makes it psychologically harder for players to track how much money they are actually spending. It's much easier to feed a ticket back into a machine than it is to feed your last handful of physical coins. Many video poker machines, a game that relies on set pay tables, have had those pay tables quietly altered to worsen the odds for the player. Table games often round up their minimums to levels far beyond what a casual player can comfortably afford. And those free drinks while you gamble, many casinos have implemented sophisticated tracking systems. The bartender or server can see how much you are betting per minute, and if you don't meet a certain undisclosed threshold, you will be ignored. Imagine putting $20 into a machine and still being deemed unworthy of a complimentary soda. That is the new Las Vegas. The cumulative effect of this constant financial pressure is a profound sense of alienation. You no longer feel like a valued guest being entertained, you feel like a mark being fleeced. Visitors do not mind spending money when they feel they are receiving value and are having fun. What they hate and what breeds deep resentment is the feeling of being gouged at every turn by non optional fees and inflated prices. It has created an adversarial relationship between the casinos and their customers. That is why so many gamblers are now asking themselves, why bother? They are exhausted by the endless fees, the predatory pricing, and the naked corporate greed that have replaced the perks and generosity for which Las Vegas was once famous. Vegas used to reward you for showing up. Now it punishes you. And that is a fundamental reason people don't want to gamble there anymore. But the shift goes even deeper than overt fees. It's a philosophical change in how the casinos view their customers, a change best exemplified by the weaponization of data and the death of genuine hospitality. This brings us to a crucial fifth reason. The art of hospitality has been replaced by the science of revenue optimization. The symbol of this new era is the player's card. In the past, a comp was a reward based on human observation and judgment. A pit boss would see you playing for a few hours, notice you were a friendly customer having a good time, and on his own authority, offer you a free meal. It was a personal gesture, a sign that you were seen and appreciated. Today, that human element is gone. The player's card is not a tool for hospitality, it is a data collection device on a leash. Every bet you make, every machine you play, every hand of video poker is tracked, logged, and analyzed in real time. Your worth to the casino is no longer a matter of opinion, but a cold, hard calculation. The algorithm decides your value, and the rewards are doled out accordingly. This transformation has had a profound psychological impact on the gambling experience. The magic of the unexpected has been extinguished. You no longer get a surprise dinner comp because the pit boss liked you. Instead, after losing $500, the system might spit out a voucher for a $5 discount on a coffee. It feels transactional, sterile, and deeply impersonal. The feeling of being a valued guest has been replaced by the feeling of being a lab rat in a massive corporate experiment, with your behavior constantly monitored to find the most efficient way to extract your money. This system also strips the casino employees of their autonomy and their ability to provide genuine service. The pit boss is no longer an ambassador of goodwill. He is an administrator, tasked with ensuring the data is collected correctly. The cocktail waitress is no longer encouraged to build rapport with her customers. Her performance is measured by metrics, forcing her to prioritize speed over personal connection. They are cogs in a machine that has been programmed to see customers not as people, but as data points on a profit and loss statement. Even the revered role of the casino host, once a master of relationship building, has been altered. The modern host often functions more like a salesperson managing a portfolio of accounts, their interactions dictated by the spending patterns and predicted value of their clients. The entire ecosystem, once built on the unpredictable art of human connection, has been rebuilt on the rigid, unforgiving science of data. This systemic eradication of the human touch is the invisible force driving away so many long-time visitors, leaving only the cold, hard logic of the machine. This corporate takeover brings us to reason number 6, a change that's harder to quantify but easy to feel: the disappearance of the city's old, unique charm. One of the most common refrains from longtime visitors to Las Vegas is a simple, mournful one: I just don't recognize it anymore. This sentiment speaks to a loss that goes deeper than high prices or bad odds. It speaks to the erasure of the city's character. For decades, Las Vegas was unique, a one of a kind spectacle of neon kitsch and a certain gritty sense of fun that never took itself too seriously. The smaller casinos had distinct personalities, the lounges were quirky and memorable, and the entire city pulsed with an energy that was both glamorous and approachable. That character has been systematically scrubbed away, replaced by a corporate copy and paste version of luxury that feels sterile and soulless, as if it could exist in any major city in the world. Think back to the classic names that defined the Strip: the Stardust, with its iconic sign, the Riviera, a hub of classic entertainment, the Sahara with its Moroccan theme, or even the old Imperial Palace with its quirky and beloved auto collection. These were not polished five-star resorts by today's standards, but they overflowed with personality. The dealers were known to joke with you. The cocktail waitresses might remember your name and your drink order from a previous visit. There was a palpable sense that anything could happen, an air of spontaneity and genuine human interaction. You came to Vegas to escape the cookie cutter rules and predictable nature of the real world, not to feel like you were checking into a particularly large conference hotel. But as these classic properties have been imploded one after another, they have been replaced by a new generation of mega resorts that are fundamentally different in their DNA. They are, in essence, luxury shopping malls with a casino attached as an amenity. Everything is sleek, modern, and relentlessly branded. The lobbies are cavernously impressive, and the restaurants are helmed by celebrity chefs. But this same formula of high end retail and fine dining can be found in Los Angeles, New York, Miami, or Dubai. What made Las Vegas special was not its polished perfection, it was its neon, soaked, slightly tacky, and wonderfully unpredictable energy that you simply could not find anywhere else on earth. Even Fremont Street, long considered the last bastion of old Vegas, has undergone a dramatic transformation. The cheap shrimp cocktail deals that were once a downtown staple are all but gone. Many of the quirky family run casinos that lined the street have either closed their doors or have been remodeled to more closely resemble their corporate counterparts on the strip. And while the Fremont Street experience, with its massive light canopy, is still a significant draw for tourists, the entire area now feels more like a curated, family friendly tourist attraction than the gritty, slightly dangerous downtown playground it once was. Visitors who come seeking a taste of authentic nostalgia often walk away disappointed, feeling as though they have experienced a theme park simulation of old Vegas rather than the real thing. This corporate sanitization also has a profound effect on the way staff interact with guests. Old Vegas was built on relationships, however fleeting. A pit boss might slip you a dinner comp simply for being a loyal and friendly regular. A bartender might pour you a slightly stronger drink because you tipped well the last time you were there. It felt human. Today, most of that personal discretion has been replaced by rigid systems, corporate rules, and loyalty programs run by impersonal algorithms. Your value to the casino is no longer determined by a friendly host who likes you. It is calculated by a computer based on a cold analysis of your spending habits. This might be a more efficient business model, but it completely kills the personal touch that made the Vegas experience feel magical. People don't always travel to Las Vegas because they want the most luxurious resort or the fanciest restaurant. They come because they want to feel like they are stepping into a different world, a place that operates on its own unique set of rules and aesthetics. When every hotel starts to feel like a corporate campus, when every experience feels sanitized and designed to maximize shareholder profits, that magic evaporates. And without that magic, that quirky, unpredictable, neon soaked charm, Las Vegas just becomes another expensive destination on the map. For a growing number of people, that is simply not a compelling enough reason to keep coming back. For a long time, Vegas could get away with these changes because it had a monopoly. But that's no longer the case, which is our seventh reason: the rise of better, more convenient alternatives. Las Vegas held a powerful, almost unbeatable advantage. If you wanted to gamble legally in a world class casino environment, you had to go there. For most of America, it was the only game in town. This monopoly created a gravitational pull, making Vegas a magnet for tourists from every corner of the globe. But over the past 2 decades, that singular advantage has completely vanished. The proliferation of legal gambling across the United States and around the world is one of the single biggest reasons why people no longer feel compelled to gamble in Las Vegas casinos as they once did.